My name is Rowan Greaves. I am 28 years old and serve in the United States Armed Forces. I hadn't seen my father in nearly 5 years, and the first thing he did upon my entering the room was fix me with a cold stare, as if I were an interloper. The Greaves and Halford conference room exuded an aroma of lemon wax and power. My sister, Aller, was already seated, wearing that supercilious grin that always suggested she had just effortlessly triumphed in a lawsuit. Leonard Greaves, my father, presided at the head of the table, resembling a corporate CEO, oblivious to the fact that this was not a shareholders' meeting, but the reading of my grandmother's will. Have you ever, deep within your soul, felt the profound burden of being unseen, unchosen, of having your inherent essence or intrinsic worth deliberately overlooked, or even, of having that which is rightfully yours brutally withheld by someone who ought to have been your protector? Perhaps it's a distant memory, an echo from a childhood where your earnest attempts at connection were met with chilling indifference, or a more recent relationship where your invaluable contributions were minimized, your voice effectively stifled. This is a sorrow that transcends the palpable, striking at the very core of your identity, causing you to question your rightful place in the world and the inherent validity of your own existence. Envision, for a fleeting moment, the profound tableau of a legacy, a birthright of affection, of recognition, or even a future that seemed unequivocally yours, being not merely withdrawn, but meticulously and intentionally obliterated before your very eyes. Not through mere oversight, nor by unfortunate serendipity, but by a chillingly deliberate action, tantamount to an act of utter nullification. This marks the genesis of a journey familiar to many of us, unfolding in varying scales and manifestations. It is the juncture where reality collides with expectation, and the individual we anticipated would offer support or affection unveils a visage of contempt or manipulation. It is the harrowing sensation of witnessing a segment of one's future, or one's very history, being consumed by the conflagration of others' indifference or malice. And the anguish does not reside solely in any material loss, should it occur, but in the profound wound that opens upon realizing that one's very existence, one's intrinsic worth, appears to pose a threat to someone close, someone who ought to have been a safe harbor. This experience, however singular it may seem, resonates with the universal struggle to affirm our identity and inherent worth, particularly when we are confronted by entrenched familial narratives or by power dynamics designed to diminish us. The IT could be the legacy of an unfulfilled promise, of recognition withheld, or of a domain that was never truly yours, despite having been pledged. What recourse is there when the trajectory you believed was rightfully yours is abruptly obstructed, and the very map you were provided reveals itself to be a deceitful fabrication? How does one rise anew when the bedrock of their expectations is irrevocably shaken by a cruel endeavor to extinguish their inherent light, their rightful claim to radiance, to possess what is intrinsically theirs, whether tangible or intangible? The underlying issue transcends mere loss or denial, it pertains, rather, to what this profound denial compels us to confront within our innermost selves. It propels us to the precipice's edge, where we are compelled to gaze into the chasm of disillusionment, yet simultaneously into the boundless expanse of our own untapped potential. The IT is an invitation, however painful, to cease the pursuit of external validation and to begin delving deep, to where the immutable truth of your being resides. And herein lies the pivotal shift, even in moments of profound vulnerability, when the world seems to conspire to diminish us, we often carry within us a secret wisdom, a silent intuition, or even a hidden legacy that was meticulously safeguarded for us. A preparation, perhaps, for precisely this moment of reckoning. This readiness is not merely a blessing, but a testament to our innate resilience, our capacity for prescience, for intuition, for self-preservation, and for resurgence. This is the juncture at which Rowan Greaves' narrative converges with your own. Not in the realm of material fortune, nor in the precise machinations of a will, but rather in the profound emotional resonance of having one's legacy, whatever its form, imperiled, and the subsequent realization that you were, in some intrinsic way, already poised. Poised for the impending battle, primed for the stark revelation, and ready for the arduous recovery. It is a journey of dismantling the insidious fallacies that sought to obscure your truth, of toppling empires built on deceit, and of reclaiming not merely what is rightfully yours, but also your very name, your inherent power, and the authorship of your life's narrative. We are now poised to delve into how this profound betrayal can serve as the very catalyst for the most monumental Self-rediscovery, for the unveiling of an intrinsic strength you perhaps never even knew you possessed. Ultimately, it is about transcending the past, not by evading it, but by confronting it directly and, finally, surmounting it with the irrefutable power of truth and your own radiant inner light. Upon contemplating the intensity of that denial, that attempt to annihilate what was rightfully theirs, we are impelled to delve deeper, not merely into the wound that opens, but into the layers of beliefs and patterns that this wound inevitably activates within us. Consider for a moment the foundations of your own experience of being loved, or of seeking acceptance. How frequently, unbeknownst to you, have you found yourself replaying old dynamics, as if an invisible script dictated your reactions and expectations? Often, the way we relate to the external world, and how we interpret the actions of others, especially the painful ones, is a mirror of internal narratives, forged in the earliest significant interactions of our lives. Consider the intricate ways in which emotional neglect or disdain, stemming from pivotal childhood figures, can sculpt a distinct psychic architecture. Perhaps you learn to become hypervigilant to cues of disapproval, developing an internal radar to discern any subtle indication that you are not enough. Alternatively, you might have erected walls so formidable that vulnerability became a profound threat, leading you to emotionally sequester yourself to avert the pain of rejection. These are more than mere reactions. They are deeply ingrained survival strategies that shape the very lens through which you apprehend love, affirmation, and, most crucially, your own inherent worth. Furthermore, observe how these patterns can unconsciously compel us to seek the validation we were denied, or to anticipate rejection, at times even provoking it. If, for instance, a parent consistently devalued their daughter, that child may internalize a core belief that, "I am unworthy," or "my worth is conditional." This belief then functions as a magnet, drawing in situations that corroborate it, or compelling the individual to incessantly prove their worth, in an exhausting cycle. Consequently, the pain of external rejection is not merely an isolated incident, but rather a catalyst for a pre-existing internal wound, a dissonant note in an already familiar melody. Another crucial aspect is how we navigate power and control within our own narratives. When we find ourselves powerless in the face of a situation where our agency or inherent rights are challenged, the inner response can vary dramatically. Some may acquiesce, internalizing the oppressor's narrative and submitting to their will, thereby perpetuating the cycle of victimhood. Others, conversely, may experience a fierce awakening, a spark of indignation that ignites into an unquenchable flame, propelling them to reclaim their rightful place in truth with a newfound resolve that had previously lain dormant. This latter scenario epitomizes an innate resilience that, though sorely tested, never entirely extinguishes. In this way, the apparent destruction of an external inheritance can, paradoxically, unveil an inestimable inner richness, the awareness of your own patterns, the courage to question the limiting beliefs that were sown within you, and the strength to dismantle the empires of lies that others may have built around your identity. It is an invitation to acknowledge that, even if something has been burned before your eyes, the true inheritance, your dignity, your truth, and your capacity to rise again, was already secure within you, untouched by the flames of others' malice. The journey, then, transforms into not merely recovering what was taken, but about discovering and honoring what has always been yours, inviolable and inalienable. Having delved inward, examining the intricate tapestry of our own reactions and the reclamation of our inner truth, it is only natural that the mind momentarily gravitates towards the other, the one who, in some capacity, orchestrated the pain. And herein lies a fascinating paradox. Often, underlying acts of cruelty or contempt, one does not find pure, intentional malevolence, but rather an emptiness, an intrinsic void which the individual attempts to fill through control, manipulation, or the disparagement of others. The endeavor to extinguish your luminescence may, ironically, be a mere reflection of the very conflagration consuming him from within, the trepidation of inadequacy, of oblivion, of forfeiting that which he erroneously conflates with his own identity and power. It is as if your ascendancy were to represent, for him, an inexorable diminution of his own status or significance. Moreover, consider that what he denies in himself, perhaps a weakness, a deep-seated insecurity, an inability to love unconditionally, is often projected onto you, rendering you an unsettling mirror of his own shadow. This projection is not a personal assault on your essence, but a painful manifestation of an internal struggle that the other wages within themselves, often unconsciously. He may be reacting to specters of his own past, to unhealed wounds from his own childhood, or to dysfunctional relational patterns that he internalized as the sole paradigm for operating in the world. This is not to condone the behavior, but to acknowledge that an individual's actions are, frequently, the culmination of an intricate personal and familial history. Consider, for instance, the power dynamics this individual may have witnessed or experienced. Perhaps they were, at some juncture, a casualty of a similar dynamic of devaluation or belittlement, internalizing the notion that power is asserted through dominance, or that affection is a scarce commodity to be safeguarded at all costs. The unresolved traumas of one generation can, inadvertently, manifest as destructive patterns in the next, a painful echo reverberating through time, perpetuating cycles of behavior without a full awareness of their genesis. For some, identity is so inextricably intertwined with a particular title, a specific position, or a defining narrative, such as that of provider or a custodian of the legacy, that any perceived challenge to it is experienced as an existential threat. The inheritance, for them, is not a benefaction to be shared, but a stronghold to be fiercely defended at all costs, even if it entails the rupture of cherished bonds. Grasping this complexity does not equate to absolving the perpetrator of their accountability, but rather to disarming the rage that consumes one, transforming it into a more expansive outlook. It is not a matter of condoning the deed itself, but of liberating oneself from the shackles of incomprehension and lingering bitterness. By perceiving beyond the mere surface of the conduct, to the underlying vulnerability, fear, or unarticulated anguish that propels it, one reclaims a portion of their intrinsic energy, which was formerly ensnared within the cycle of grievance. Herein lies the pivotal distinction: compassion does not equate to condoning the perpetuation of harm. It represents an act of self-emancipation, permitting the illumination of your consciousness to penetrate the obscure recesses of suffering, both your own and that of the other, without succumbing to contamination by another's shadow. It serves as an invitation to acknowledge humanity in its multifarious complexities, without forfeiting clarity regarding the boundaries of acceptability, after gaining insight into the intricate realities within another's world. And understanding that many hurtful actions stem from their own vulnerabilities or unresolved histories, a fundamental question arises: how, then, do we position and express ourselves within this delicate relational landscape? The key resides in the art of conscious communication, which manifests not as a confrontation, but as the establishment of a safe space where personal truth can flourish unimpeded. Communication, in this context, transcends the mere exchange of words. It becomes an invitation to authentic vulnerability, an act of courage that demands you delve into your own emotions and present them with clarity, devoid of embellishment or accusation. Envision vulnerable communication as a bridge you construct from your side of the river. It is neither a weapon nor a shield, but rather an extension of your essence, an invitation for the other to comprehend your inner world. This entails articulating your needs, feelings, and boundaries forthrightly, by employing I statements. I feel this way when this occurs, I require X, I perceive that Y affects me in this manner. This approach, rather than assigning blame or finger-pointing, centers the conversation on your experience, rendering it less threatening and more conducive to dialogue. It's a maneuver that disarms defensiveness, as the focus rests on your truth, not on the perceived failing of the other. However, for this bridge to be robust, it is imperative that the environment where the conversation transpires is perceived as safe. A sanctuary where active listening supersedes interruption and validation supplants judgment. The establishment of this safe space, however, does not rest exclusively with the other party, it commences within you. This entails cultivating an inner sense of security, a bedrock of self-assurance that empowers you to engage in challenging conversations without becoming entirely destabilized. Prior to engaging, inquire of yourself: am I emotionally prepared for this discourse? What is my principal objective? Am I seeking clarity, resolution, or merely catharsis? This inward readiness constitutes the foundational step in establishing an atmosphere wherein candor can flourish. Subsequently, external security manifests itself in the judicious selection of an appropriate time and venue, the elimination of distractions, and, crucially, in the establishment of fundamental agreements regarding mutual respect, such as refraining from interruption, listening attentively until completion, and abstaining from personal attacks. Concurrently, the clear and firm delineation of boundaries emerges as an indispensable cornerstone. Boundaries are not barriers designed to repel, but rather frontiers intended to safeguard the integrity of your very being. They delineate the precise juncture where your personal space concludes and another's commences, thereby defining what is permissible and impermissible within your interactions. When articulating a boundary, for instance, I am not available to discuss this matter when you raise your voice, you are not exerting control over another's conduct, but rather safeguarding your own tranquility and welfare. The absence of clear boundaries invariably invites encroachment. Their presence, conversely, instructs others on how to engage with you with due deference. And, should a boundary be transgressed, the congruence between your pronouncements and your actions is paramount to underscore the gravity of your boundary, thereby solidifying your standing and reaffirming your inherent worth. Ultimately, clarity is the compass that steers all effective communication. It dispels assumptions, mitigates misunderstandings, and fosters authentic comprehension. This entails posing unambiguous queries in times of doubt, confirming the intended reception of the message, and refraining from oblique or passive-aggressive discourse. In this vein, communication is an ongoing endeavor of self-awareness and reciprocal accountability, where the objective extends beyond mere audibility to genuine comprehension, and where psychological security serves as the implicit authorization for both parties to express their authentic selves. Upon mastering these facets, you not only enhance your interactions but also reaffirm your authority over your own narrative and emotional landscape. Having elucidated the significance of forging communication and security conduits, we are prompted to contemplate the essence of a love that transcends the merely reactive, a love predicated upon the pillars of intentionality and consciousness. In its quintessential manifestation, conscious love is not an endpoint, but an ongoing odyssey of self-discovery and co-creation with the other. Far from being a passive emotion that merely transpires, it represents an active choice and unwavering daily commitment to truth, freedom, and mutual growth. Envision it as a meticulously tended garden, where each botanical specimen, symbolizing the unique individuality of every being, receives optimal light, hydration, and nourishment to blossom unequivocally, without one impeding the full bloom of another. Furthermore, true freedom flourishes in this fertile ground of conscious love. Far from being a fusion of identities that subsumes individuality, it celebrates the autonomy of each partner. It means embracing the other's integrity, even when their paths or interests momentarily diverge, confident that the bond uniting them is strong enough to facilitate each individual's personal growth. There is no room for possessiveness, for the attempt to reshape the other in one's own likeness, or for the suffocating fear of loss. On the contrary, there is a genuine joy in witnessing the evolution of the beloved, a continuous impetus for them to achieve their utmost potential. This absence of constraints enables healthy interdependence to flourish, where support serves as a pillar, rather than a mere crutch. Consequently, reciprocity assumes a pivotal role. Within conscious love, the interplay of giving and receiving is fluid and harmonious, devoid of scorekeeping or hidden agendas. It is not a mere transaction, but rather an unceasing flow of generosity and receptiveness, where both partners feel seen, cherished, and nourished. There is a keen sensitivity to the other's needs, an intrinsic desire to contribute to shared well-being and happiness, without one side feeling perpetually indebted or burdened. This dynamic of mutuality fosters a robust foundation of trust, where vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness, as it is met with empathy and reverence. Another foundational pillar is an unwavering commitment to truth. Conscious love is not predicated upon illusions or convenient narratives. It demands an unflinching courage to confront reality, even when it proves challenging. This entails a radical honesty with oneself and with one's partner, a willingness to unveil one's own shadows and to embrace those of the other, without judgment. It is an invitation to dismantle masks and defenses, allowing unadulterated authenticity to be the guiding principle of the connection. Only in the illuminating light of truth, however uncomfortable it may sometimes be, can the roots of the relationship deepen, withstanding the storms and blossoming into a resonance that transcends the superficial. Thus, a relationship suffused with this kind of love serves as a catalyst for healing. It holds up a mirror to our wounds, yet also offers a soothing balm for them, facilitating the dissolution of antiquated patterns and the emergence of novel modes of being and relating. It extends an invitation to emotional maturation, wherein Both individuals commit to fostering their personal development, to gleaning insights from adversity, and to transforming impediments into avenues for profounder intimacy and comprehension. It constitutes a secure haven wherein the unfolding of one's authentic self, in its unvarnished totality, is not merely permitted, but actively fostered and celebrated. As we delve deeper into the understanding of conscious love, we realize that it manifests not as a fortuitous event, but as a daily practice, an art that is honed with intention and dedication. It is not merely about feeling affection, but about acting with affection, in every interaction, in every choice. Imagine it as the construction of an intricate mosaic, where each small piece is meticulously selected and positioned, not impulsively, but with a clear vision of the desired whole. This translates into deliberate acts of recognition, in nurturing genuine curiosity about the other's inner world, and in creating rituals, however simple they may be, that reinforce connection and mutual presence. It is the conscious decision to tend to the garden of the relationship, even on days when the will seems to wane, knowing that gradual neglect is the greatest enemy of vitality. Additionally, conscious love acts as a potent catalyst for transformation, a veritable alchemical process. It doesn't merely facilitate individual growth, but orchestrates a profound metamorphosis within the very core of the self, both within you and the other. It is akin to entering a crucible where dross is unveiled and refined, and the sharper facets of one's character are tempered, not through imposition, but through the friction and warmth of authentic intimacy. This signifies that the relationship evolves into a secure space for confronting archaic fears, for dismantling internalized limiting beliefs, and for rewriting personal narratives that no longer serve. Both partners serve as mirrors and guides, inviting one another to transcend limitations and to embody a fuller, more integrated self, in a continuous process of mutual refinement. Consequently, a cornerstone of this love lies in the ability to forge a shared purpose and vision that transcend individual desires. It is not merely the aggregate of two wills, but rather a fusion of energies in pursuit of something greater, benefiting both parties and, at times, extending beyond the relationship itself. Consider two rivers that, upon converging, do not negate each other, but rather coalesce to form a more potent current, capable of moving mountains and irrigating vast landscapes. Such co-creation may manifest as joint ventures, a guiding philosophy that informs decisions, or simply in the unwavering commitment to forge a legacy of well-being and profound significance. It entails the recognition that individual felicity is magnified when connected to an objective that elevates both parties. In contrast, the lived experience of conscious love finds its expression in embodied presence, through a form of listening that transcends mere words, reaching the very essence of the other. It's not merely about processing information, but rather involves attuning oneself to emotional subtleties, to eloquent silences, to that which remains unvoiced yet is profoundly felt. It's akin to the resonance between two tuning forks, where one, when struck, causes the other to vibrate in perfect harmony, even from a distance. This entails being fully present through periods of both jubilation and sorrow, providing a sanctuary where vulnerability can be laid bare without fear of judgment. It is the profound capacity to hold space for the other to genuinely be their authentic self, in their entirety, without the imperative to fill every void with unsolicited advice or ready-made solutions, but simply through the offering of a loving and embracing presence. Yet, mindful love also demands keen discernment, a wisdom that enables one to recognize and safeguard one's own integrity and energy. This is distinct from mere boundary setting. Rather, it delves deeper into the intuitive capacity to perceive when a dynamic or an interaction, even if disguised as affection, begins to drain or diminish one's very being. It mirrors the courage of a gardener who, to ensure the plant's vitality, does not hesitate to prune dry or diseased branches, even if they appear to be an integral part of the structure. One cultivates a sensitivity to discern subtle patterns of imbalance or manipulation before they take root, and the inner fortitude to choose not to engage in power games that corrode the soul. This discernment constitutes an act of loving self-preservation, ensuring that one's essence is not compromised in the name of a false harmony. Ultimately, the reverberation of conscious love extends far beyond the individuals involved, forging a legacy that inspires and uplifts. It becomes a beacon, a paradigm of authentic connection that illuminates the path for others seeking profundity and truth in their own relationships. Consider a stone cast into water, generating concentric ripples that reach distant shores. The manner in which you cultivate and express this love possesses the power to influence friends, family, and even future generations, demonstrating that it is possible to forge bonds predicated on freedom, truth, and mutual respect. It is an intangible, yet profoundly transformative, inheritance that contributes to a world where human connections are richer, more meaningful, and more capable of healing. Upon delving into the experience of conscious love, we realize it manifests not merely as a set of principles, but as an art of continuous co-creation, an intricate dance where beauty resides in the capacity to embrace the imperfections and nuances of shared existence. It is not a quest for a platonic ideal, but rather an immersion into the other's flawed yet splendid humanity, accepting it in its entirety, without the imperative to mold or correct. Imagine the relationship as a river in constant flux, conscious. Love is the wisdom of navigating its currents, recognizing that every meander and every turbulence is an inherent part of its landscape, without wishing for it to be a static lake. This radical acceptance, paradoxically, liberates both individuals to be more authentic, for it removes the pressure of conforming to an image that is not their own. Furthermore, at the core of this resilient construct resides the capacity to mend the inevitable ruptures. In any profound connection, misunderstandings, grievances, and communication breakdowns inevitably arise. Conscious love neither ignores these moments nor sweeps them under the rug, rather, it perceives them as pivotal opportunities to deepen intimacy. It is the courage to revisit the locus of the wound, not to re-experience it, but to collectively unravel it, articulate the genuine impact, and, with a shared purpose, weave new threads of understanding and forgiveness. This active process of mending, of extending a hand to heal what has been fractured, stands as one of the paramount pillars of trust and the longevity of a connection, transforming friction into a catalyst for a more robust union. Consequently, trust, in this context, is meticulously woven, not through grand pronouncements, but through a myriad of small, consistent, and reliable actions in daily life. It's akin to the intricate weaving of delicate lace, where every stitch, however minuscule, contributes to the strength and beauty of the whole. Punctuality in an appointment, the recollection of a significant detail, a silent presence during a moment of vulnerability, the fulfillment of a promise, however trivial it may seem, all these gestures, reiterated over time, solidify the perception that the other is a safe harbor, someone truly worthy of trust. This constancy, this benevolent predictability, is the oxygen that nourishes the flame of connection, allowing it to breathe and expand without fear. Another crucial, yet often overlooked, dimension is the infusion of levity and humor. Conscious love is not merely a serious endeavor of growth and healing, it thrives on joy, playfulness, and the capacity for self-deprecating humor in the face of life's vicissitudes. Shared laughter is a universal language that diffuses tension, dissolves barriers, and cultivates an atmosphere of ease where the soul can truly breathe. It is the sun that illuminates the garden of the relationship, preventing it from becoming unduly dense or somber. Cultivating moments of spontaneity, unadulterated joy, and playful levity is as essential as confronting the most profound challenges. For it is these fleeting instances of pure delight that infuse the relationship with vitality and a renewed sense of connection. Furthermore, the cultivation of mindful appreciation elevates the relationship to a plane of profound gratitude. This is not superficial appreciation, but rather a discerning and deliberate recognition of the myriad ways, both grand and subtle, in which the other's presence enriches one's life. It involves pausing to truly observe the tender gesture, the attentive listening, the silent support, the unwavering strength, or the unexpected tenderness. This conscious attention to the other's value, expressed authentically and consistently, nurtures a virtuous cycle of mutual recognition and validation, transforming what might otherwise be taken for granted into a constantly rediscovered treasure. It serves as a continuous reminder that the presence of the other is a gift, deserving of celebration in its singularity. Ultimately, the reverberation of this conscious love extends beyond the intimate circle, becoming a wellspring of inspiration and compassion for the outside world. A relationship built upon these pillars acts as a beacon, demonstrating to others the possibility of profound, healthy, and transformative connections. The manner in which you relate, how you traverse difficulties and celebrate triumphs, becomes a living testament that love can be an agent of healing and positive change, not merely for those involved, but for the greater tapestry of existence. It is a fount of clear water that, as it gushes forth, nourishes not only the surrounding soil but also spreads, enriching the environment and inviting others to drink from this same wellspring of authentic connection. As one delves further into the intricacies of conscious love, a dimension emerges that transcends mere interaction, inviting the exploration of a realm where vulnerability finds sanctuary. This encompasses the capacity to embrace the darkest facets and the deepest wounds of another, not with a remedial intent, but with a compassionate presence that validates their pain without judgment. Imagine your partner's heart as a valley, where not all light penetrates, and where ancient sorrows or fears resonate. Conscious love, then, is the willingness to traverse that veil alongside them, bearing a lamp, yet without the presumption of illuminating every recess, merely to be present, to bear witness, to sense the reverberation of that shadow without succumbing to its embrace. It is within this sphere of radical acceptance that the most profound healing can commence, as the individual feels secure enough to unveil that which, for an extended period, they concealed even from their own awareness. Furthermore, an intrinsic facet of this evolved connection lies in the art of emotional co-regulation. During moments of a partner's inner turmoil, when anxiety or despair threaten to submerge them, conscious love manifests as a living anchor. It is not about offering immediate solutions or minimizing their suffering. Rather, it is about the capacity to maintain one's own composure, to radiate a frequency of peace that enables the other's nervous system to find a point of equilibrium. Consider a boat adrift in turbulent waters. The conscious partner does not attempt to quell the storm but offers a safe harbor where the boat can anchor itself and gradually stabilize. This capacity to be a mirror of tranquility, to breathe in synchronicity, to offer a calming touch, or simply to be present with a serene energy, is one of the most potent acts of love, allowing the internal storm to dissipate without causing wreckage. In the same vein, the beauty of conscious love is revealed in the sacralization of the ordinary. Far from seeking grand gestures or extraordinary events to validate the profundity of the connection, it discovers the sacred in the most prosaic moments of daily life. It is in the silent sharing of a morning coffee, in the joint preparation of a meal, or in the simple act of holding hands while walking, that the essence of the union is profoundly felt. These subtle interactions, often invisible to the outside world, become rituals of connection that nourish the soul of the relationship, infusing meaning and purpose into every shared moment. Like dewdrops that, as they accumulate, form a river. It is these small gestures of presence and affection that build the solidity and richness of the bond. Another cornerstone is the cultivation of non-attachment in love. Paradoxical as it may seem, conscious love necessitates relinquishing rigid expectations and the impulse to control the relationship's trajectory or the other's conduct. It is the acknowledgement that, much like life itself, love is a dynamic, ever-mutating current, and endeavoring to confine it within a predefined mold merely stifles its inherent vitality. This entails a trusting surrender to the unfolding process, permitting the relationship to evolve organically, and embracing the surprises, detours, and transformations that will inevitably surface. It is akin to holding a bird in one's hand. If clutched too tightly, it perishes, yet, if held with tender care, it retains the freedom to soar and, perhaps, to return. This embrace of impermanence and the other's autonomy, devoid of undue attachment to specific outcomes, is what genuinely enables love to breathe and blossom to its fullest potential, rendering it more expansive and less susceptible to disillusionment. Therefore, conscious love is not merely about what is constructed, but also about what is permitted to crumble. Old narratives, projections, and illusions about what the other should be. It is a perpetual invitation to renewal, a willingness to redefine the space of connection as both individuals evolve. With each new phase, each surmounted challenge, each intimate revelation, the relationship has the opportunity to be reborn, becoming deeper, more authentic, and more conscious. This capacity for self-reinvention, for embracing the fluidity of shared existence, is what bestows upon love an unwavering resilience, transforming it into a continuous journey of reciprocal learning and mutual growth, where the journey is as valuable as any destination. Reflecting on the journey we have undertaken thus far, we discern that the trajectory toward grasping the most intricate dynamics of relationships is not linear, but rather a helix that beckons us to re-examine strata, refine insights, and, preeminently, to transmute the very manner in which we inhabit our own essence. Our genesis was marked by the poignant sensation of a primal wound, a birthright that appeared intrinsically ours, yet was brutally disavowed, reverberating the anguish of being unrecognized in our entirety. This very pain, however, did not manifest as an impasse, but rather as a portal, a fissure through which we were able to discern the intricate threads comprising our own internal tapestry, the tacit patterns, the deeply entrenched convictions, and the coping mechanisms that frequently operate on an unconscious level, shaping our responses and our apprehension of the world. This profound introspection, however, was not an end in itself. It impelled us to a broader perspective, to a compassionate lens that extends beyond our own pain, encompassing the other's reality. We came to understand that the actions inflicting harm upon us are not invariably fueled by pure malevolence, but rather by an intricate web of vulnerabilities, fears, and unresolved narratives that reside within the perpetrator. This insight, far from condoning the harm, dissipates the venom of resentment, unleashing a vital energy that was previously confined by bitterness and the yearning for retribution. It is as if the mists of misunderstanding dissipate, unveiling the intricate human landscape in all its inherent frailty and shadows, thereby permitting the focus to shift from blame to clarity. Within this nascent landscape of understanding, communication ascends as a bridge, a bond forged in vulnerability and truth. It transcends being a mere exchange of hollow words or an egoic confrontation. Instead, it becomes an invitation to cultivate a secure space where authenticity can truly blossom. The pellucidity of intentions, the steadfastness of boundaries, and unvarnished honesty in expression become indispensable tools for redefining the frontiers of self and other, thereby establishing a novel covenant of respect and mutuality. It is an invitation for the inner voice, perhaps hitherto muted or distorted, to resonate with a newfound authority, asserting its rightful place and inherent truth with unshakable conviction, albeit devoid of antagonism, and it is within this cultivated soil, enriched by self-awareness and compassion, that the seed of conscious love discovers the optimal conditions for germination. This is no longer a blind, reactive, or conditional love, but rather a daily choice, a profound commitment to the mutual growth, liberation, and authenticity of both individuals. It manifests as an intricate dance of reciprocity and profound presence, wherein individuality is not only celebrated but actively honored, and the bond deepens through mutual acceptance and the collaborative creation of a shared, elevated purpose. This elevated paradigm of love beckons us to transcend antiquated narratives of scarcity, instead embracing the plenitude of a connection that both heals and elevates, thereby transforming past wounds into veritable gateways to a more profound and robust intimacy. Thus, the journey that commenced with the agony of denial unfurls into a process of inner alchemy, where the lead of grievance is transmuted into the gold of wisdom. Every stage, every insight, every conscious breath along this path paves the way for a fundamental rediscovery. It is not merely about reclaiming what was taken, but about constructing something infinitely more valuable, an unshakable foundation of self-respect and personal power. The true legacy, after all, never lay on paper or in the hands of others. It has always resided, inviolably, in your own capacity to discern truth, to honor your worth, and to forge your own destiny with a clarity and strength that even the most intense flames could never consume. It is with this profound realization of wholeness and sovereignty that we prepare for the next step, the final and most decisive one, in affirming your place in the world, and thus, after this profound immersion into the intricate layers that constitute the complexity of our relationships and our very being, we arrive at a point of profound clarity, a beacon illuminating the expansive landscape that stretches before us. The odyssey we embarked upon, marked by the searing pain of denial, by the attempt to nullify a legacy, whether material or effective, has guided us through a labyrinth of ingrained internal patterns, of ancient wounds, and of broadened understandings concerning the imperfect humanity of those who surround us. We have traversed the path of conscious communication, of establishing healthy boundaries, and of seeking a love that does not constrict, but rather liberates. Yet, the ultimate revelation, the very crux of this entire journey, lies not in surmounting an external obstacle, but in the rediscovery of an unshakable truth that has always resided within you. Do you recall that clandestine envelope, that inheritance already transferred even before any attempt at destruction could materialize? This serves as the most potent metaphor for your own existence. Your true inheritance, your intrinsic worth. Your inherent dignity, your capacity for resilience, and the luminescence emanating from your very being were never contingent upon external approval, validation, or the incineration of a check. They were, and forever will remain, inviolable, integral to your very essence. The act of burning a will, of disdaining a right, is not an exertion of power over you, but a reflection of the impotence and blindness of its perpetrator. It is a desperate attempt to extinguish a light which, paradoxically, shines even brighter when confronted with darkness. Your strength resides not in proving your worth to the world or to those who denied it, but in recognizing that this worth is self-evident, an inherent gift that cannot be granted or revoked by anyone. The external battle, like that of Roe and Greaves, is merely the stage upon which your internal sovereignty is enacted and, ultimately, fully asserted. Henceforth, the true practice truly commences. It is not about a singular, monumental triumph, but rather a continuous succession of small, deliberate daily choices. It is the choice to firmly stand in your own truth, to steadfastly refuse to allow antiquated narratives to dictate your present or future. It is the resolute decision to meticulously construct your own empire, not necessarily one of material wealth, but rather of profound self-awareness, unyielding integrity, and enlightened love. This empire, in its very essence, is indomitable, for its foundations are deeply embedded in the bedrock of your intrinsic authenticity and your profound capacity for self-definition. May this profound understanding serve as your compass, your unerring guide. May you advance, not driven by the compulsion to prove anything to anyone, but rather imbued with the tranquility of self-knowledge, and the serene certainty of one who acknowledges their own inalienable heritage. True liberation lies not in altering others, but in emancipating yourself from the prerequisite that others must change for you to feel whole. You are already inherently complete. Your voice, your narrative, your legacy, these are intrinsically yours, and no conflagration, however fierce, shall ever extinguish them. Allow this profound truth to reverberate through every fiber of your being, and may it inspire you to forge a life that stands as the purest embodiment of your innate strength, your inherent dignity, and your unwavering self-love.